undivided, and unmanifest, pure spirit of life, light, and love. In its generosity, it shared itself, its consciousness, and its love in the visible form of creation. And this morning we acknowledge this presence within us and as us, the creative energy of the divine feminine and masculine, expressing in all of our giftedness and creativity. We acknowledge this presence in our companion Mother Earth and in all sentient beings. This universal presence in everything we call the Christ, the light. We light this candle this morning as a visible reminder of that Christ presence expressing in, as, and through us in this present now moment. It is the truth. Let us own it. And now I invite everybody to stand and sing God is My Source.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, joy gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, love gives me everything I need. Peace is my source, peace is my power, peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, peace gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. I wanted to pronounce all those words all at the same time. Peace, love, joy, God, and it didn't quite come out right. How about you say peace, you say love, you say joy, and I say God. Together, 1, 2, 3. God. All right, see, that works. Together it works.
And so please have a seat as Angelika leads us in our invocation for today.
Let's take a deep breath. And if you feel to, you can close your eyes and settle in a little bit deeper and relax a little bit more. And I always ask all my friends to put a little smile on their faces, because it really helps. And just noticing what is here. Noticing the thoughts floating through the sky of the mind, like clouds. Noticing sensations in the body. And we are not evaluating anything, not needing anything to be different. Simply here with what is.
And in that relaxation, we have the opportunity to be more present, to open more to the greater reality of our being, our essence. And this is a poem by the author of this study book. The heart is like a river, winding through time and space, endlessly yearning for the taste of the sea. The mind is like a road, hard and straight, stretching from city to town to village, endlessly connecting this to that. The journey of the heart makes little sense to the mind. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Why do you wander so aimlessly, wasting time and energy? Says the mind. The heart replies, as gravity is to water, gathering it ever into the sea, so yearning for the divine is to the heart, drawing it ever into the one. When the heart surrenders to her yearning, life becomes a river, flowing with no effort, moving with no design, and yet, with absolute certainty, knows that it is going home. Acceptance is letting everything come. Forgiveness is letting everything go. Love is letting everything be. Wisdom is letting all things arise, flourish, and release naturally. Awareness is restful attentiveness. And so once again, just taking a deep breath. And just going ever deeper into awareness of the presence and awareness of what is here in this moment. Not yesterday and not tomorrow, but here, right here. Blessed be.
And staying in this beautiful meditative state, we set the intention that as each name on our prayer list is read, that person is bathed in love and that their highest good comes to them. Sandra Miller, Vilnius Wolf, Joshua Hill and his parents, the Zumwalt family, Susan Healy Harmon, Sharon Watson, Mike Shire, Emily, Aurora, and Andrew, Anne-Marie and Ken Reshenik, Danielle White, Gary Barnes, Richard Wood, Mary Lynn Peters, Tony Tucker, Christine and Tor Arlid, Marion Sheridan, Magdalene Jekyll, Carol Shane, George Averill, Tess from Germany, Denise Mazzetti, Sue Motter, Sally Landrum, Sue Ottle, and we also hold prayers for a healthy and revitalized children's program here at UGC, and for all those suffering everywhere. And now I invite you to think of anyone that could use prayer, and you can say it softly out loud or to yourself. And we hold these all in prayer. And please join with me as we say, there is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as our lives, the all-loving goodness of God, and all is well. And staying in this beautiful space, we have the reading of our daily word. God is here. I am safe. Once in a while, I enjoy doing things that frighten me. Sharing ghost stories around a campfire, watching a spooky movie, even savoring the uneasy feeling just before thundering down the first hill of a roller coaster. All these things can feel scary, even though I know I'm in no real danger. If I begin to feel unsafe in any situation, I remember that right where I am, God is. Breathing out, I release tension. My body relaxes. Fearful thoughts begin to dissolve. Breathing in, I think more clearly. Slowly, I regain renewed strength and peace of mind. My confidence returns as I remember that nothing in the world can prevail against the strength, the wisdom, and the love of God. And from Psalm 23, verse 4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. God is here. I am safe. And now just remain seated for our song, I Am Who I Am.
And as we sing this, really contemplate this. The mind has trouble, yes, we get it on this level, the upper level, but really, there is only one, even though it shows up in all these different ways. So this song is a good reminder for that. Is the heart. I am who you are looking back. You are who I am, can you imagine that? There is one God and that's a fact. I am who I am, that is the heart. I am who you are looking back. You are who I am, can you imagine that? There is one God and that's a fact. Joy to the world, peace on the earth. God bless all beings everywhere. Joy to the world, peace on the earth. God bless all beings everywhere. That is the heart. I am who you are looking back. You are who I am, can you imagine that? There is one God and that's a fact. I am who I am, that is the heart. I am who you are looking back. You are who I am, can you imagine that? There is one God and that's a fact. Thank you. And now, as we go into our meditation, I invite us again to focus on the breath. And to focus on this moment. I pray with all of my heart that we together, as a community, realize the fullness of the love that is here for us. That we can see how it is helping us steadily to open into greater love through all the experiences of our lives. Not just the ones that feel good, but all of them. And that we can remember that we gave our consent to every single experience of our lives as a way to grow stronger in faith and trust, and to train the mind and the heart to get ever closer to home, and that we can walk all of our seeming journey, neither craving nor rejecting any part of it, and especially not judging any part of it. It is unique to all of us. That we can walk with reverence and awe and bow to all of the parts of our journey equally. Like every blossom is striving towards its fruit, and every morning toward evening. Nothing is eternal on this earth. And everything changes all the time, seemingly. Yet there is something deeper within us and within all of creation which never changes. And as we discover that, there is a whole different way of living, of knowing the deeper stillness, the unchanging nature of the source that is expressing within us, and still enjoying all the dance of the form, the bodies, these lives, these movies, these stories. But embracing the change fully and dancing with it. Then we can truly enjoy our journey, and we're no longer frightened, and we're no longer perturbed by it. But we say yes, and we dance with all of the parts and all that our experience brings. Let's put our hands on our heart and one hand on the belly, because we're making a bridge between the belly and the heart. We often store a lot of pain and things we don't want to see in the belly. But the heart has compassion and patience, and it wants to invite all of those lost parts back into the family, especially the ones we don't like and don't want to meet. So let's make an intention right now to invite them all back from the underworld where we put them and become a full spectrum human being, fully and completely online, no longer afraid of any part of ourselves and our experience. And just whisper a gentle yes to your belly. Yes, I welcome you. And a wonderful yes to your heart to expand even more into its beautiful nature. Taking some nice deep breaths. As we come back into the room, or at least our awareness is coming back to the room, it can also at the same time stay with this deeper experience, this deeper calmness and welcoming. We don't have to leave that space. When you're ready, you can, if you want to, open your eyes or keep them closed. So I was asked by Reverend Jerry to speak about a book, your study book, your 7-week study book, Birthing a Greater Reality. And he also asked me to wear green. That nice, soothing Irish green. So I did. So I might have to look at my notes a little bit more than usual because I usually just channel directly. But I am doing my best to deliver this chapter 4, which is embracing your wholeness. So to launch you into this week's study. And it's really actually, at first I thought, it's difficult for me to present someone else's material just because I got so used to channeling directly. But then I looked at the material that he sent and I thought, wow, life is so brilliant and intelligent because it was exactly what I was working with. It's such a perfect fit. So I said, yes, I love talking about this chapter. So I've been really facing what the author here, Robert Brumet, I'm not sure if I pronounce it right, but Robert Brumet is calling the shadow. And, he makes a distinction, essence, our true essential nature, versus that which has been made up. Some people call it ego or the false self. And he makes this distinction. And I was thinking, our essential nature is inherently blissful. That's how we are designed. Just as existence is blissful with itself. It's just undulating. It's just running like a river and changing in waves and dancing with itself. So what is in the way of experiencing that bliss, that joy? It could even be a calm peace, but either of those states, I welcome them very much. What is in the way of those states is that which we have learned, that which we have been conditioned, our reactions. We have been, since actually the imprint was already started in the womb of our mother. We were imprinted by the consciousness of the energy field around us and by our mom's feelings. that the feelings create chemicals. And if the mom is stressed out, which most of our moms were, my mom went through World War II, of course she's stressed, PTSD. So we get imprinted with these things. And then we react to life and feel about life just like our mom and dad did, and our ancestors did. So we're influenced by all of those factors. And we've learned a system. It was the best thing we could do, how to deal with life and challenges and what's put in front of us. And things got kind of stuck, especially the discomfort, the hurtful things. The messages of you're not good enough, you're not wanted, whatever messages, we all have received detrimental messages, and we stuff them down here in the belly. And there is a connection of those emotions and the body, and I get into that a little bit more. And so the author Robert starts with a story about a tiger, a white, beautiful wild tiger that was given to an American zoo, but it was kept in a 12 by 12 very small cage, and the tiger started just pacing in a figure-8 pattern. And it did that for years, year after year, and her name was Mohini. And she just paced and paced. And eventually, after years, the tiger was given a very large, beautiful, outdoor forested space to roam in. And guess what the tiger did? Sadly, it went into a corner and it paced in that same figure-8 pattern as it did in the cage. And in a way, the reason it makes us so sad is because it's what we do too. Honestly, if we don't work actively against it, or not against it, but with it, if we don't become aware of that we're doing the same thing, we're actually given not only a very beautiful area to roam in, but we are given the whole expanse of the universe. And what do? We run around in our heads in this figure-8 pattern over and over and over. Maybe it's more like a hamster wheel, remembering the past hurts, thinking of the fears of tomorrow. But it's not our fault. It's the way we were taught. It's the way we were literally conditioned and programmed. And so the big question is, what do we do? What do we do about it? And there is a lot of, I'm glad to see in the collective awareness, there is now a lot of different modalities that work with trauma, that work with somatic experiencing, where we actually experience things through the body. We focus on the basic sensations. Where is it stuck in the body? Where are these feelings stored? The body has memory. So it actually expresses those hurts all the time, And there's definitely a correlation between these psychological hurts and our physical health. For me, there is, as I studied more and more and more and got more deep into the territory, I studied psychology, I studied spirituality from every angle with great masters from East and West. And they have become one to me because all of it is mind. What determines the quality of our life is determined by what is in our mind. So how can we work with this mind and make it somehow that our life experience is more joyful, more free, more spontaneous, basically reclaiming the shadow, as Robert says. So what is the shadow? He says that we begin by reclaiming those lost parts of the personality, or I like to call it the inner child. And so you can see, if that is the shadow, this little one that might have had incredible hurts at that age already, could you be mad at her? So I put her into, this is me, by the way, at 2 or 3. And I put her into a forest with the animals because that's where she felt safe. That's where she wanted to be. So I make soul portraits, which are a visual affirmation. It makes it more visual, so I can actually feel how that little one would feel safe right there. And so the author, what the problem is we have a lot of judgment towards what we call negative or painful feelings. And we keep stuffing them. And they kind of act in opposition to our conscious intention. So remember how Matt Kahn said, if you give your inner child spiritual lectures, it turns gangster. And my little child has lately really come out, but she is very creative and playful. So in those repressed parts of us is our life force, our vitality, our creativity, and our joy. So as we can free them and bring them back out of the darkness and meet them, oh my goodness, you can have so much fun. I will maybe share some stories if I have time. So we were also not supported, in discovering our essential nature, but rather to conform to others' expectations. But we are here now, and we're seeing these things, and we are experiencing what it's like to free up more and more and more of our being and come back into a wholeness that includes all aspects. There is nothing wrong with anger or grief, rage, sadness, fear, jealousy, shame. All we need to do is meet it fully within our own heart, our own welcoming family, with the guidance of our true nature, our essential nature, and to stop judging any of those emotions. And then they won't come out sideways and get projected on the other person. Many teachers say everything in the Course in Miracles also is 100% projection. So life and other people are like our mirror. And we forget that when someone, acts negatively towards us, we forget that it's something in us that wanted to explore that. And often I find in my life now, it's for healing, for a greater chance to heal. So the author suggests a way to reclaim the shadow is through journaling, writing things down, and having a dialogue with that shadow part. So and you'll hear that communication inwardly. So I have a little story for you. I had recently had a lady come up to do an EFT session because she does it differently than I do. I was curious how she does it, so I hired her to come. And when she got out of the car, she was so upset because she had lost her way. And she was upset. She projected her anger at me because she blamed it on my directions. And she got out of the car and she starts yelling. She was literally crazy. And I felt that in my stomach, like someone punches you in the stomach. My little girl, like, I was never very good with that. I did work it out with the lady. In an actually very skillful way. I was very surprised. But later, when she was gone, I sat down with my little girl and I said, "Sweetie, what would you like to say and do?" And I put myself back into that situation. And now, I grew up in Germany, and not only with High German, I grew up with a dialect that's very deft. It's a very kind of a dialect, Felsisch, if some of you know German. But that's the language she speaks. So when I asked her, "Honey, what would you do and what would you say in that situation?" And see, the trick is to befriend the shadow, to befriend our younger parts, the ones that are hurting, and make them, include them and do fun things with them. So she said, "I want to sit on your shoulders so I can be taller than she." I said, okay. So I might put that little button here on my shoulders. And that felt really good. And I said, "Honey, what would you like to say?" And in that very deft German dialect, she said, "Geh weg, du blöde Nudel." And what it means is, "Go away, you silly noodle." And I started to crack up laughing. I laughed so hard. And I said, "Well, honey, anything else?" She goes, she was already on the next page playing. And I thought, wow, what a quick turnaround. And now before when I was thinking about this incident, I still had the same feelings in my stomach, that same like getting punched in the stomach, and someone gets angry, I did something wrong, I immediately took all the blame and, oh, I'm so bad, it's just that automatic reaction. That's the shadow symptom. That's what's down there. And that's what we try to hide. So I felt all that, but I'm aware of it now. So when these things come up, I'm very aware. And then when I have a chance, whenever that is, as soon as possible, I just sit with it. I breathe with it. I feel where is the sensation in the body. That's really important. It could be a temperature or a knotted feeling, or this was like being punched. But whenever we think about that situation, those same feelings come up. And that's how you see that it hasn't been integrated yet or healed yet. That's how you know. When the same thing keeps coming up again and again, and it could have different phases in life, but that's when we know there's still a wound that has not been brought up to the love, not brought up to the whole healing embrace and family. So now, after working with my child on this, I think of this incident, and every time I think about it, I have to laugh. I have so much joy. And then the lady just became kind of, silly, but I also felt a gratitude to her, for her, because in her behavior, her really crazy behavior that seemed very hurtful at the moment, there was such a huge gift. It was amazing. I was like astounded about how big this gift was. And then I also realized, so projection, this is how it works. She was giving me a reflection of what I have done in the past, something I have been working with when that energy, the frustration, maybe with myself or with another, comes out sideways and gets directed at another person. Because the feeling is too much. I can't handle it, so I fling it onto someone else. I vent and try to make myself lighter. It's not wrong. It's just not very skillful. And it usually doesn't get us what we need or want. So it's better to be skillful, which I was in this case with this lady, very skillful, turned it around, gave her a gift of awareness, and then we proceeded with the session. I said, honey, I can't work with you right now because I don't feel safe. You just attacked me, and I don't know, should we start over? How could we do this again? So I said, how about we stand up and we pretend you're just coming in. How about we say, hello, dear, how are you? I am really glad you are here. Thank you for coming. And I gave her a huge hug. And so she calmed down, I calmed down. And we proceeded, and she was very good at what she was doing. So she had a huge gift in so many ways. But she was a mirror for me. So I also saw that is when we realized that. That's true forgiveness. We have talked and tried so much about forgiveness, right? The whole Course in Miracles is about forgiveness. But did we really get it yet in those instances? Not really. We still react often in the old way from those hurt feelings. But the true forgiveness came when I realized that everything that happened was guided by this incredible intelligence and unfolded for the benefit of all of us. Even though it looked something terrible happened, like it looked like that in that instant, but then it turned out to be just a beautiful gift in so many ways. So that is how I now work with emotions and scenarios when they come up. And so the author talks about sub-personalities, like they're a whole conglomerate of personalities in us. We really all have multiple personality disorder, because it's only a disorder because they are not integrated. One might spring up and catch you unawares. And like Matt Kahn, says it becomes a little gangster. And he illustrates, the author illustrates that with a poem by an anonymous person. Within this temple, there is a crowd. There is one of us who is humble, and one of us who is proud. 'One who is sorry for its sins, another unrepentant, sits and grins. From much earthly care, I could be free if I could just determine which is me. Isn't that great? I just love that. So let's move on to the next slide, slide 2. So I made this visible, this different parts of myself. And I made a little teepee for each aspect of me. One teepee gets to have the anger move in. One teepee gets to have the grief and the sadness. One gets to have the anxiety. And then the one on the left is me as a baby. Behind is the 3-year-old. On the right is the sad, depressed teenager, wondering where in the world she should go. And in the front that's me now. That is much more closer to my true essential nature. So I decided, okay, we're going to have a camp and a campfire, and we're just going to make visible how we are integrating all these beautiful aspects of the self and welcome them. Welcome the anger and have a dialogue. That's what Robert in the book suggests, is having a dialogue with the feelings, with the body when it hurts, with the grief when it comes up. And you hear this internally, but if you ask, sweetie, what do you need right now? Ask your feeling, or if you are visual, you could visualize yourself as an inner child. And then he also talks about dream work, how important dreams can be. And so I want to share one dream I had a long, long time ago in my late 20s. And that dream is, let's go to slide 3, is more vivid in my memory than any other experience in my daily life, in my daydreams. And it was about a lion. So in the dream, I'm walking alone in a forest. It was much darker than this forest that I made this portrait. And I heard something behind me. And I also kind of knew that I had lost something. But I didn't know what I had lost even. But I lost something. And I'm walking by myself. And I hear a noise and I turn around and something runs at me. And it was a giant lion. And I'm getting really, really afraid. And then when I just about woke up from terror, because it came really close, the lion stopped dead in its tracks and went back into the forest. And then that happened again. And the second time, I got even more fear and more terror. I mean, it was so intense. And then the lion returned again into the forest. And the third time it ran at me, I for sure thought, okay, now I've had it, I'm toast. And in that moment, when I really couldn't stand it anymore, the lion lifted off, and instead of knocking me over, it jumped over my head and landed on the other side. I turn around, and all of a sudden, there is blissful love and intense beauty, and we are starting to embrace and roll around on the ground as just the beloved and the lover. I mean, there was like such a joy, such a homecoming, such a fulfillment. And then we walked together for a while like this, side by side. And after a while, the lion kind of went back into the forest, and it came back and it brought me what I had lost. I never saw, because it wasn't an object. It was actually my freedom, my love, my bliss, the absence of the terror and the fear that I had been trained and conditioned to feel from the womb, from my mom's war and my dad's war experience, and their own abuse in their childhood. So the lion was, symbolic for all of that, the terror, the fear of death, but also of the intense power when that becomes one with you again, how you become so whole and so ecstatically joyful and blissful. And that is a love that is more precious than any love I had ever experienced anywhere with anyone. So the lion brought that back. What I had lost was my true love, my innocence, my fearlessness, my essential natural state. It was amazing. And so Robert talks about that the shadow is reflected in the body. Nowadays, there is a lot more awareness about the mind-body connection. People are doing a lot of somatic therapies, which is great. So, you can use massages, qigong, yoga, tai chi, all these different modalities to get more in touch with the body, to free the body of the patterns. And I recently had a divine download of a way that combines all of these methods with the breath and movement, with music, and I call it Synergy Reset. It's really, really powerful and fun. So basically, he talks about, and I totally agree, that we need to come to a place where we accept and love this body and not keep shooing it away. Like we used to just, some of us hated our bodies. This is a creature that has been entrusted to us to take care of while we're here. And it's unique. And the mind's imprints are being imprinted into the creature. So it sometimes suffers for us. So let's just kind of give it a hug let's give it a real nice hug. Oh, sweetheart, thank you. You've carried me through this life so well, and you've been such a good companion, even though I've abused you with my thoughts and my feelings so many times, and still you are doing such a good job carrying me around through this life. It's so amazing. And so the body is very important to integrate. It used to be the transcendent path. Oh, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not my feelings, I'm none of this. Yeah, on that level it's true. But I am more of the teaching of integrating and embodying our essential nature. When we embody it fully, that's what we're here for. Why would I deny this physical experience if I'm in the middle of it, right? Yes, so what? It's a dream, fine. What unfolds is a movie, it's a story, fine. It's an interactive role play where we are the director of the movie. We hired everyone to play the parts. We're the star, we wrote it, and we're the director. And so, yes, that's true. But I need to live it as best as I can, and to bring as much of my being online as I can after all the damage that's been done in early life. But it wasn't really damage. I'm actually now grateful for every single thing that happened because it brought me to here. And this is so beautiful. It's beyond the wildest expectation of a beautiful life. I could have not ever imagined living this life like this. It turned from 80% troubled and depressed to, I would say, 95% joyful, and then some very big challenges come sometimes, but I now have the confidence to deal with them in a better way, and in a way that is a win-win for everyone, where I'm bringing in all the different resources of the higher self, of the shadow, the child part. I'm letting them all work together to solve these challenges, and it works like a charm. I swear, it's amazing. So let's show the fourth slide, which is kind of, I made this portrait, I call them soul portraits, and I made this one to show how, I cut the ropes deliberately. It's a choice. I am willing to meet all my feelings, and I'm willing to cut the rope that tied me to the conditioning and to the way I was programmed. And I am lifting up in the balloon further and further and lighter and lighter and lighter. And and so when we lose our fear of our own feelings, an example, I was recently in Ojai with a friend who has brain cancer, and she's a really dear friend. And I was massaging her legs and feet, and then I cuddled her on the couch, just held her, she's just skin and bones. And we came to the conclusion that, whatever we experience, it doesn't really matter, because we are always the same. That love, that essence of us is always the same. So even in that situation, we were completely fine. She has that wisdom, so it's amazing. But then on the way home, up I-5, I thought of that, and her mom is in mind care and she has to be separated from her kitty, and then there were cows in the concentration camp on I-5 in these cattle lots. And all of a sudden, what welled up in me was this intense heartache and pain about the condition of, this life, how it sometimes looks. And I allowed it. I was no longer afraid. Before, I was afraid I would fall into a bottomless pit of pain, but I just allowed the feelings to come up, and I'm driving down the highway by myself in the car. And I just wailed. I let the feelings wail. I just full power wail. And it must have gone on for half an hour, but it was fine because I wasn't traumatized by the feeling. There was no story with it. There was just, there is heartache here in these lives, and that's just what it is. But I knew it would pass, and I wasn't trying to make it go away. I didn't judge it. I didn't make it wrong. I just met it full on with all of my heart, and I let it wail. And my essential nature was not affected by that, but I can fully welcome the experience. It's pretty incredible. So that's why now I am no longer afraid of life and no longer afraid of my own feelings. Enlightenment, which I used to chase, is not about sitting on a mountaintop and being totally unaffected and disconnected from life. Not for me anyway. For me, it's being fully here, fully human, and fully divine. And then I didn't get through the whole thing because, I keep telling you fun stories. So there's a quote from Ala Bozard Campbell: "Finding my way back to the missing part of myself, reclaiming it from the person or thing now gone, is the process I have called grieving. It is not only the way we survive hurtful loss, but it is the way we can learn to live more creatively, through and beyond the loss, into and out of a deeper part of ourselves." And then he also talks about how important a support system is and how important it is to trust the process. And so let's move to the slide 6. And that is when we embrace the wholeness. This is me with an instrument that's a sound column, and I made myself into a yin-yang symbol. So the light is in the dark and the dark is in the light. And together they are the wholeness, the completeness of life. And so that's when balance and wholeness comes in, when they're both equally welcomed. Doesn't mean to express the shadow onto the world or others, but to fully meet it within ourselves and to become very skillful with that. And also, therefore, we become more skillful with meeting the shadow and the hurt on other people when they fling it on us, right? And then I just want to, slide 7, please. That is an image I made where I try to show my essential self. It's just like that, light, colored, blessing power coming out of her wherever she goes, And that's how I kind of I'm playful with the images because it just helps me to make it visible. And I would like to end with a quote by Nisargadatta Maharaj, a great Indian sage. "Once you realize that the road is the goal and that you are always on the road, not to reach a goal, but to enjoy its beauty and its wisdom, life ceases to be a task and becomes natural and simple, in itself an ecstasy." And the author ends this chapter with, "The experience of wholeness is that of being complete in each moment. Each moment is enough. One feels a sense of fullness and satisfaction simply in being. Nothing needs to be done, yet all things are possible. One feels the joy of simply being with oneself. We are complete."
Thank you, Angelika, so much.
I know I went a few minutes over. I usually try to be very, very much on time in German, but this was such an interesting talk. So I want to thank Reverend Jerry for giving me this assignment, which at first I resisted, but turned into a great blessing. Thank you, Jerry. We love you. He has such great taste. He always picks such wonderful stuff. So I'm sharing a special song, right?
No,
Nope.
not yet.
Not yet.
In just a moment. Just give us a moment here.
Okay.
So this brings us to our time for our love offering.
Okay.
So I invite you to take your tithes, your gifts, your love offerings, and place them over your heart. And please join with me in our prosperity statement for today. Prosperity shall flow to us and through us in unending streams of plenty. The inexhaustible resource of spirit is equal to every demand. And now we have special music.
Great. So this is a song by Lauren Daigle, and it's called Everything. And it kind of talks about when we trust the process, you know, our essential nature, or God, however we want to call it, gives us everything, really everything. That's now my experience. And I'm like, oh, could I have seen this earlier? I would have enjoyed my life more, but better late than never, right? Even the sparrow has a place to lay its head, so why would I let worry steal my breath? Even the roses, you have glowed them brilliant red, and I'm the one you love more than this. You give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything I need. You can sing with me. You give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything I need. Even the oceans push and pull at your command, so you can still my heart with your hands. You tell the seasons when it's time for them to turn, so I will trust you even when it hurts. That's an important line in this song. You give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything I need. You give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything I need. When I can't see you, lead me. When I can't hear you, show me. When I can't stand, you carry me. When I'm lost, you will find me. When I'm weak, you are mighty. You are everything I need. You give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything I need. Let's sing it out. You give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything I need. Everything I need. Everything I need. Everything deep breath in and out. It is the truth.
And Source does give us everything we need. And so we bless these tithes, these gifts, these offerings today. And we know that this abundance will go out to assist this center to be the light that it is. And we give thanks. Amen. So we have just a few announcements today. Next Sunday, Sandy Spurgeon will be holding a chaplain's meeting at noon right after next Sunday's service. And the Inspiring Women's group, it says that we are all in one kind of a transition or another. And let us gather for tea and talk. Patlin Kyle is our perfect facilitator for this experience. So mark your calendar for Saturday, November 12th from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., followed by a salad bar. So the lettuce is provided, so bring toppings and dressings. And there is more information in the e-bulletin about that. So we truly are in post-Jedamali bliss. Let me tell you, at least I am. And we're asking for your input. So for those of you who attended the Jedamali workshops or just even the Friday evening, we hope that you will take a few minutes to complete our short survey about your experience. And if you go into your e-bulletin, right near the top of the e-bulletin, there's a little thing that you can click on to do that. And if you see Marlene after service, she can take you to where that's on the website, and she can show you how to do that.
And you know, Jeddah is a perfect example of living from our essential self, from our true nature.
Yes. And so grounded.
Yeah.
So grounded.
Yeah, and funny, you know, that British humor. I mean, so cool.
Yeah. So our healing, energy healing clinics are the second Sunday of each month. November's will be on the second Sunday, November 13th. So check with Christy Stevens to, Christy, do you want to stay on for just a second? There she is, right over there. If you want to reserve a spot on that healing clinic. So our fall silent auction is in its process. And if you look on the backboard, I think we have like 20 different things so far. And I've already received more in my email. So this coming week, I'll be putting more of those wonderful little things up. There's a sign up there on your left. So if you want to do a bid, just put your last name, print your last name next to one of the numbers. That's your bidding number. And all you have to do on something is just put like number 10, which is you, and how much you want to bid for an item. Oh, yes, you YouTube people. You can go online to the website, and there is a thing that says 2022 Fall Silent Auction. And if you go in, it actually has pictures and all the information, and it even has a bid button for each and everything. So you can actually punch that little button, and you just fill in your name, your email, how much you want to bid for something. Very sweet, simple, and easy for those of you at home. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible. So the auction will be held on Sunday, December 6th, first Sunday in December, right after service. So we really appreciate all the things that we're getting in, but we would really appreciate it even more if some of you would bid on them. So for today, I really want to thank all of our volunteers. Without you assisting us, we would not have this service be what it is. So, of course, I want to thank Angelika for today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. Reverend Joe and Reverend Mother Lynn for being our greeters. Our ushers today were Larry and Carolyn Homan. And our beautiful women who are setting out great things for us to eat today are Patricia Plank and Patricia Leventon. Our sound today is Wayne. And Leslie, of course, is up there doing PowerPoint. Our bookstore and our altar today was done by Catherine Beatty, and beautiful. And I will be your chaplain after service today, and thank you. And I'll be in the chapel, which is just down the hall and around the corner there. So I invite everybody to stand, and we'll say our prayer of protection and then our closing song. But remember, at the end of this, when I'm up here, we always do it how I do it in Clear Lake. So at the very end, it says, because I am and all is well. Well, in Clear Lake, we raise our hands and yell out, all is wonderful. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, because I am. And all is wonderful. Yay, God. And now for our closing song, I Choose Love.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what we made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us, that can't be undone. We choose love. Peace in my family is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one loving family, sharing one son. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because we choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. We choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one who leads us. Choose love. We choose love.
Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, everyone on YouTube this morning. God bless each and every one of you. Have a beautiful, beautiful week.